welcome to the encounter. I am called Vitali Muvunye and I'm very excited tonight. This talk show is called Encounter, and tonight we're going to be encountering a very special gift, a book. It's called Purpose-Driven Business, and I can't wait to dive into it. It's a very, very powerful book. I've been reading it and I'm super excited. So you're very much welcome. And I will be with the author of the book. I will be with the president of For Christ for the Nations Ministries, which is the organization that sponsors, that prepares, that actually runs this program, this Encounter talk show. So I just want to invite each one of you and to welcome you tonight as we enter into the book. But before we start on the book, let me first introduce, I had already introduced them, let me just give them a chance to say hello to you. I will start with our guestie and author, Mr. Marc. Please say hello.
Hello viewers, once again, we're very excited to be here once again at the Encounter to explain and share about my book, The Purpose-Driven Business. I hope you're going to enjoy the discussion.
Thank you so very much. Yeah. And as I had already mentioned, we are with Evangelist Norman Paul Desire, who's the president of CNM. Please say hello.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this program.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Without taking further ado, we are going to dive into the book, The Purpose-Driven Business, the business roadmap for smiling business. If you read this book, you understand that it's indeed a business roadmap, especially if you are a startup, but it's for literally every business. But for the startups, don't miss reading this book. If you want your startup to make it among so many others that fail, this book is very, very important. I'm not saying this because the author is here. I've read the book more than once, and I can assure you that it's a very, very powerful book. So let me let the author introduce the book. What's the book? What is it about? I have already said that it's about startups, but that was sort of just picking one thing out of so many. But as an author of as the owner of the idea of the book, what would you say this book is about?
Thank you, Vital. This book, The Purpose-Driven Business, is one of my books, the second book that I've written. After Behind the Smile, the book on customer service. The book on customer service focused on typically practical customer service. But this one, The Purpose-Driven Business, is a book that is focusing on business, purely business, startups, business growth, business management. That's why it is subtitled The Roadmap to Smiling Businesses. So it is taking care of all that you need for your business to start and prosper, to start and grow into a fruitful business. So it encompasses all the things that you need for your business to start, your business to grow, and your business to prosper, and the reporting that goes thereof when the business grows. So all that process is there. So there are models that I've used, that are put in the book, that also can help you grasp some of the things that you need to do. One of the models that is very important, that I think is very, very key for the grown-up businesses like corporates, is the performance audit model, which helps corporates evaluate their employees at the end of the day and also reward them for the performance. There is a big problem when you're evaluating employees and also rewarding them for the previous year performance. There are a lot of conflicts because of the grading and all that. So I managed to do a model on that, and it is also in this book. So it's a book that covers startups and also the corporates.
Just like you were saying, one of the things I truly, truly loved about the book is your depth of intellectual analysis. I mean, you pick different concepts that are used in the business. You present them, you show their good side, and then you analyze them, and then you say, as much as this is good, there's one thing that is missing, and it's this. And you're explaining it as somebody who has actually lived it. I'll give you an example. It's one of the questions I chose not to ask today because of the time. On the 3 T's, there's somewhere you talked about time, talent, and I remember the other third T, and treasure. And then you were explaining how they are very, very important, but still they lack something. I think it was something to do with vision or something like that.
Yes,
So
yes.
I love the depth. It actually speaks to the question I'm about to ask you of the need for business leaders and for businessmen to read books. In your preface, you wrote something, and you said, praise George in his book. This is page Roman 7, and you said, praise George in his book Mastering Money puts it right when he says you should learn as much as possible on your job, as my career and business journey have been a learning and experience building one. And I was blessed. I took this path the first day I stepped into employment. And it was a long time before I read this small but important book by Praise George that set me on a journey that would give birth to all the books I have written. What was intriguing for me was the way you express it here, that you read the book, and this book opened up so much in you, not just your eyes, but it opened up so much in you, that it actually became a beginning of a journey that would lead to writing these books. And I wanted you to speak to the need for businessmen, since we are speaking to businessmen today, the need for them to read. Because we usually say every leader must read, but how about businessmen? What's the need for that?
Yeah, that is a very, very good question. Historically, businessmen in Africa, most especially, and more probably even in the other parts of the world, they have not been putting down what they do. They have not been sharing the struggles that you go through. So the few that have been successful, you find that they have not written so many books. So, and that is because the businessmen don't have a good culture of reading. So because of that, we don't have so many books that are about business successes. So what George was saying there, that be intentional, I was saying that I was like I became intentional when I joined employment. So in the business world, we are not intentional of putting down what we meet. The successes we meet, the failures we meet, we are not intentional in that. It's a life of hustle where someone forgets even to share what is going through.
What's going on?
Most especially in Africa, we don't have business mentors. So when I was writing this book, these books, it's like I was laying grounds for mentoring other people, because I was seeing a very big gap in the business environment. Right. Like, tell you an example here in Rwanda. How many mentors, business successful men or women, do you meet and you can go and talk to, and they can share with you everything that they have gone through? There are very few. They are there, but it's very rare that they will share. So how many have written? It's because we are not intentional in whatever we are doing. And when you are intentional in whatever you are doing, you have the urge to put it down, to share it with the rest. So basically, that's what I was talking. So I was very lucky that I became intentional the first day I joined the employment. Maybe because I was passionate about the business and all that. That's why I was able to capture some of these things along the way. So, Praise George says, take advantage the day you step into employment, the day you step into your career, take advantage and learn as much as possible. So I was lucky that happened to me. I took advantage of that.
Before I move on into the Bible and reading and writing culture, I wanted to first ask you, there's something you mentioned along the way when you were answering the first question about business mentorship. You know, do you have like a program? Do you have a way that you can mentor young entrepreneurs that would like to have mentorship?
That is a very good question again. Yes, we have been actually helping people out. I've been, but on one-on-one.
Okay.
But however, I'm also a business coach. I work with Leadership Management International. We help businesses grow their profitability. So that is I would say that's a kind of a business. We are paid for that.
Okay.
It's, but I do it also, I do mentorship on one-on-one with individuals. But on the side, if you want to have it more streamlined, more, I'm also a business coach with the Leadership Management International.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I'm in the right place. Now, I'll go to Mr. Norman. From a biblical perspective, because this is interesting. Recently I was thinking, and you realize it's God, at least in as far as we know back in history, it's God that first come and tells Moses, I want you to write these things down. Not just on a paper that might, get lost or something, but they will be written on a stone, that its durability will be as durable as a stone. So it's God that first commands people to write it down. And what Moses wrote at that time, we still have access to it this time. But when I was graduating in one of the universities I attended recently, the leader of RGB came to us. And she was in charge of all faith-based organizations, NGOs, civil society and all that. And she was trying to rank, actually they ranked the organizations and how they are doing. And we realized there is a lot of gap in the Christian organizations. And by the way, when we talk about Christian organizations, we are not even talking about Christian businesses. We are only talking about NGOs and churches and all that. And we realize there is a gap that these people, when they want to write down what they do, and even if they write those things and they submit them to RGB, when RGB comes to verify, they realize that they just fill the forms for the sake of filling them, but they don't understand how writing things down, writing procedures, putting systems in a place helps the sustainability of the business. So I'm asking myself, what do you think is the issue? How can we solve it? How can we train our children to be in the same kind of philosophy that God was introducing through Moses, of writing down and of reading? Because as he just said, we will read books about business, but we have to read them from the perspective of Westerners who have written the books. And we don't have as many books as we should for the businesses that are written within the context of Africa. So biblically versus reading culture, writing culture, what's not going right, what could be done?
I think it's all about culture. Culture, I believe African culture, I studied history, and they would tell us that Africans are good, that they transferred their knowledge orally. So it was a tradition, everything was transferred orally and not written. So it's something that it has been embedded in our culture, in our lives, where like in old times, old people, the elders will bring people together let's say on a camp, fire camp, and they would narrate stories and begin to that. So it's part of our African culture. And so, because of that, we relied mostly on the verbal. But as you all know, that communication from one generation to another, there is information that is lost. Definitely. And I believe that was when there was, let me say, revival or renaissance during that time, where renaissance of knowledge, and that was the first printing press in Germany by Gutenberg, where people would bring in everything, transcripts. So it's something, even the Europeans and all that, the culture was already, but time came when they started to produce. And I believe this is something that we must learn. It's something that we need to be taught. And because sustainability, we talk about sustainability of business and all that, but also sustainability of history. That's of right. What? So I believe that I might not have a skill of writing, but you have an information to produce. So share information, get someone with skills, and then produce it.
And for example, actually this is why it's very important. We know we have had a revival in Rwanda. I have only found like 2 books on the revival, the Gahini revival. And these are not written by Rwandans.
By Western world.
It's not fair that our children, starting from ourselves, we are lucky that we still have you that can tell us that have at least met those people or were there You were not there, but you interacted with people who experienced the revival. But like for my son, I will only be telling them stories, and they will read it from the context of the standards. So I think there is a need for a call to churches.
For example, Vital, my grandmother, she used to tell me stories, because most of the time half of my life I grew up with my grandmother. She had all that strong heritage, and she would narrate stories. And by the time when she passed on, I realized that was lost opportunity. I wish I would narrate every story, everything that was told, because not only her history is not only her history or her lineage, but also the country. And so I believe it's something that was touched my life, and I believe and I encourage everyone, especially the elders, transfer your knowledge to the young people. And today, things have been simplified. And so, I believe we can do more. For example, the struggle that Rwandan went through, I believe we need people to write about the history. We talk about sustaining what has already been done. I believe in the Western world, even today, there are revisionists who try to say genocide never happened or this never happened, but how are they going to get information? It's us, the elders, who give out the information, write it down, pass it to the generations to come.
Thank you so very much. You know, if we touched every subject that you touch in this book, I don't think we would finish this. So we have to move on to another very important aspect of how you link business and the Bible. It's interesting. This book is called Purpose-Driven Business, and this is what he writes on page 5. It says, man lived in abundance, and everything was provided for until he fell short of God's glory, and the land became cursed. The curse brought scarcity, scarcity brought lack, lack brought a new method of making ends meet through innovation and production. Production brought distribution, distribution brought multiplication, multiplication brought systems, and the systems brought business. And we need to manage this process. This is the job of an entrepreneur. Scarcity is the origin of supply and demand forces. This is the foundation of economics. First of all, I was very impressed by your writing style, the way you connect things. No, seriously, it was almost like poetic. This book is super amazing. It was almost poetic. Like so, the way you brought out business from the Bible perspective, and then you're going to go on, because this book is actually divided into five parts, and I counted. I realized the first part, which is the founders and foundation, is the biggest part. It has 61 pages. Exactly. The second part, which is the value, the product and service, it has 13 pages. The third part, the enablers, it's also the second biggest. It has 54 pages. Then part 4, which is customer, has 5 pages. Part 5, which is revenues and performance reporting, that's 17 pages. So on this first part that is that's the biggest, I would like you, because I just read one statement in a very big chapter, and I would like you to help us. How does business really connect with Bible? What is the link? Are you still into the business, or you have become an evangelist?
I'm in both. I'm in business, but also being a Christian, you cannot do business without
Christian values.
Yes, evangelism is one of the mandate of all Christians. So we are all disciples of Christ. So whoever has the name of a Christian, he has the mandate. However, coming back to your question, linking the business to the Bible. When I was writing this chapter on that links the business, the one you've read, that links the business to the Bible, I was trying to give the reader the connection between the business and the real life. And there is no real life without God. All our connection is to God.
That's right.
And if all our connection to God, then it comes back to the Bible. So if you cannot connect what you do with the Bible, then you are lost somewhere.
Yes.
And with business, when you are lost, it can also be a loss. So,
That's right.
yeah, so when I was...
Can you imagine?
Yes.
I think you are a poet.
So, when I said the first principles, the first principles when we were doing mathematics in school, they were telling us in order to solve a complex equation, you would need to start from the first principles.
Yeah.
Then you go solve from first principles, then you get the complex part, and then you get the solution.
That's right.
And that made the solving the equation in mathematics easier because you started from first principle. So even a business is a complex matter. So you need to also, when you're writing it to a beginner or someone who is a startup, you need to get it from the first principle.
That's right.
So that's when I came to connect it to the origin of man. The origin of man was in abundance. God placed him in Eden, and there was abundance. He was supposed to just go eat fruits, fellowship with God, and that was all. And have a good time. But when man fell short of God's glory, sinned, that was taken away from him. And when it was taken away from him, remember the Garden of Eden, there was a tree of knowing good and bad. And there was tree of life.
That's right.
So when man was taken away from the glory of God, God told the man, you're going to get food through toil. The land is cursed. So from the curse, this curse originates. You have to eat when you've done something and you sweat. Yeah. So from that, the land became cursed. And from there, scarcity came. And because scarcity came, man had to find ways of making life, get food. So that's where the innovation comes from. Right. You start knowing, okay, I can dig to plant more food, I can process to add value, and all that started coming. So when that started coming, a man that did a lot of that needed to give to a friend, but you get a value out of that. If I gave you, if I grew a lot of matoke, or if I grew a lot of sweet potatoes, and you need them, okay, I'll give you, but give me a cow, give me a sheep. So from there, as the economy has gotten modernized, money came in. So exchange from goods stopped and money came in. So I give you what I've done through my innovation to work on the scarcity issue, and I distribute. I move from here to the other side. That's what's called distribution. That's right. After adding value to what I've done, I need to give it to you. I distribute to you, so you give me money. So that's the distribution. And as it becomes complex, you create the systems, and then there comes the business. So basically, that's the origin of what we do discuss and all that. Sorry. So when I was explaining this, I was trying to show someone, because when you start a business and you start in space, you can easily get lost and you can easily not be motivated because you cannot connect. And if you cannot connect what you are doing to God, your creator, to your identity, you will get lost from that thing that you're doing. So that what you're doing is lost, is not connected to your identity. So you are lost, and what you're doing is lost. Connecting the two things.
The identity thing. You want something very powerful.
Yeah. So basically, that's the whole thing I was trying to say. That from the first principles, you need to understand the origin of business, so that you go on. So that's where I went on building. So basically, that's what I meant.
Actually, I'm going to ask you more about what you meant by founders and foundation. But before we leave this this segment, I wanted first to go to Norman. This segment of tracing business back to the Bible, tracing employment, work, and everything back to the Bible. It's very interesting because the attitude of most Christians today. And on the excuse of scriptures, because some say, Jesus said, "Give to Caesar
what belongs to
what belongs to him, and then what belongs to God, to God." So you will not find many people teaching business from a Christian perspective, because they say, God called us to preach the gospel of salvation. So you need to be saved and go to heaven. And if you want to learn more about business, go to school. There isn't a lot of, except for Westerners who have actually done a great job of literature. But in Africa, there's not that much. You find that many business people who go to the same church, they don't have no platform whatsoever that they can come together and share from. I mean, fellowship as business people. So this is my question. What do you think is wrong? What could be done?
Number one is that the theology that we were taught some years back by some missionaries was that they separated secular from sacred. The holy would just say the best way to serve God, the best way to please God was only to do that which is within the four walls of the church. Other things, going into business, other things was ungodly. So with that philosophy or that kind of teaching, try to separate believers. They would see those that are in the area of church ministry as the most dedicated, most successful, more blessed. And when they brought that in Africa, everyone said that's where it started. And in fact, unlike them, business people are the people that funded their missionary work. And when they came to Africa, I don't know their attitude. I don't know the reason why they brought that to Africa. Maybe they had their own motives, but the Bible is very clear. When you both, in the Old Testament, it's very clear. People engaged in business. We see biblical principles of business in the book of Proverbs. Most in the book of Proverbs, you begin to see in the Old Testament, the people of God were always business people. But also in the New Testament, we see Jesus Christ giving most of the examples in the areas of money and stewardship. But also we also see the disciples of Jesus Christ speaking about giving and work. So we see balance, interconnecting. But a problem came when the missionaries, some of the missionaries came in here and taught that. And that affected even the progressiveness, the expansion of the gospel. Now, Vital, do you know that the most people today in the Western world that finance missional work are business people?
That's right.
They are business people. And so these are business people that have known the purpose. They have known the purpose that there must be good stewards.
That's right.
So even to African business people, business is not, work is not curse, business is not curse.
That's right.
And God has called us, I'll bless the work of your hands. This is hard work. So I think pastors or bishops, whatever they call them, need to go back to the Bible. Give room to the business people. Let them experience, let them teach believers how to work. For example, recently, I don't want to blow the trumpet. The other day, we have over 1,000 people in different communities that were empowering them financial literacy. And some of them have saved more than 30 million.
Wow.
So that is liberating. So to us, and I believe this is a business that has a purpose, and I believe every Christian leader needs to empower other people. And I thank you, Mr. Mark, for sharing all this. And I believe God has given us wonderful platforms that will expand this work.
Thank you so very much. I think we need more of business fellowship, businessmen and women fellowships. Seriously.
Yeah.
True. Anyway, so before we leave the first part, I just checked on time and I think time is not on our side. Before we leave this first part of the founders and foundation, I would like to first read a portion in the book, and then I'll ask you a question, and then we can go to the next part. So this is on page 10, that goes to page 11. It's the same paragraph that just crosses from one page to another. And you wrote and said, it is important to know who you are before you set out to discover the business world. So it's important for you to know who you are before you set out to discover the business world. Many businesses fail for many reasons, some of which are known, others are mistakenly in the mirror of management, capital, and so many other reasons. So everything that fails, we think it's management, it is the capital, it's many other reasons that are tangible that we can look to. But he argues and says, however, many reasons originate from the individual's identity. This is a revolutionary idea. Who are you? The business is indirectly your mirror. Where you are from and where you are going. You should be going in the same direction your business is going. Or the business should be going in the direction you are going. Otherwise, you will lose each other along the way, contributing the failure rate. First, help the viewers to know what you meant by the founders and foundation, and then this identity thing. It was, I mean, it really spoke volumes to me to understand that, you know, we always thought, you've ever had people say, I can't do business because businessmen have to lie. And you can't do business when you are a Christian. But you're saying if you are a Christian, that's what your business should look like. If you're not, there's not much chances for you to succeed without applying the same values that Christianity teaches. And it's super powerful to see how you're connecting an individual's identity and business. That's why I said when we started that this book is a must read for anybody who's in business. But yeah, who are the founders and foundations, and then business and identity?
Thank you. I remember you said I gave much emphasis on the first part, which is founder and foundation. And that indeed is for a reason, because mostly from my observation, business don't fail because of capital, don't fail because of this failed at the foundation. Business starts without a proper foundation. And in that part of the book, the foundation, that's where you'll find the identity, which is part of the foundation. So there is a reason why that part is so big and the rest of the parts are not as big as that. Because when you've built a strong foundation, a foundation that is like the Bible compares the sand and the rock. If you build your business on a strong foundation, the rocky foundation, then chances are the winds of problems, the problems that will come, will not shake it because it has a proper foundation. But when you put it on a sandy foundation, when the problems come, now the Bible says the winds, the problems come, because it is not on a strong foundation, it's bound to fail. Remember, we're talking about 90% failure for businesses. 90% is a very big thing.
Very huge.
It's very big. So, and you find the people who start businesses, by the way, they have money. So why 90% rate failure? Yeah. So that's why you have to go back to the foundation. Where did things go wrong? Where do things go wrong? So that's why this part of the book is big. So coming back to the identity. So the founders are the business men who are starting up business, and the foundation is these first principles. Exactly. Yeah. So the founders, if I go back to the section that you read, your identity should be your business identity, and your business identity should be your identity. You should be moving in the same direction with your business, and your business should be moving in the same direction of your life. If you don't do so, you lose each other, like you lose each other, and when you lose each other, then the business fails. That's right. And coming back to finding each other is costly. That's right. When you have lost touch with your business, bringing it back to the same line, you've already lost something. So it's a bit costly. So the identity of your identity, for example, as a Christian, what's your identity? Your identity has to relate to your Creator. That's right. So you should be living by the principles of your Creator. That's right. That's where your identity is. So if you bring your principles of your Creator into your life brings forth a business. Your life is supposed to bring forth a business, but what's the origin? The origin is the principles of your creator that guides your life. And your life brings forth a business. So that business should be having an identity into your life.
That's right.
But if you find a business starts, for example, a pastor starts a business, it's an example. And the business pastor is investing in alcohol, investing in a business. And the pastor does not take alcohol, does not believe in alcohol. But we have seen pastors who invest in the alcohol business. So that business has lost the identity of the founder.
Yes.
So when the winds of problems come and start blowing against the business, the pastor will, because the foundation is shaky,
That's
the
right.
pastor will not stand to fight for the business. Because Mark will tell you, by the way, you are a pastor.
Why are you into this?
But your business, so the pastor is going to be limited to fight back.
That's right.
Because he has lost touch with the business.
That's right.
So basically that is the identity. If you lose, the business loses the identity of the founder, it is part of the problems of failures. And there are so many businesses that, such like that. You find someone builds a nightclub business. But you know the nightclub is not a straightforward business. Culturally, it's not straightforward. So when something happens, the founder is not ready to stand against all the problems, against all accusations, against everything that is attacking, to stand for the business, because there are weaknesses that he cannot confront publicly. So basically, if you cannot be able to stand against any force that is attacking your business,
then you're not ready for success.
then you're not ready. You have built your business on a sandy foundation.
Yeah.
It's not on rock foundation. So basically, that's one part at the foundation stage.
This is interesting.
So basically, that is what I was trying to explain to the readers when I was writing. So build a business that feeds into your life, that feeds into your identity. Then that business, you'll die with it.
That's right, that's right. Before I go to Norman and ask him about Christian values and business, there's something you made. I don't remember if I read it or if you told me this. But you know, when you're reading a book, you feel like the person is speaking to you.
Yes.
So it's sometimes hard to differentiate between what you read and what someone told you. But there is something you mentioned some time back that's related to doing a business that is related to your identity, where you said, sometimes people start up a business, let's say, of let's say writing books. And along the way, this is the business that you feel in, this is a business that you feel like it's related to your identity. But along the way, someone comes and tells you, no, actually, in real estate, things are doing great. And then you sacrifice part of your startup business into this, and then they fail. What do you mean? I would like our viewers to benefit from that wisdom that you shared.
Oh, yes. Thank you again. Now, when you start a business and the business is flourishing and is doing well, your money is coming, you are doing very well. There is a chapter on that. You are supposed to be purposefully focused. So when you start business and the business is flourishing and is doing well and you're making money. Along the way, temptations come. Because you don't have purpose, because you don't have the other identity we're talking about, temptations are part of the wind.
That you mentioned, that blows the business.
Yes, the wind. So when temptation comes, someone will come because you are not purposefully focused. You're not connected to the identity. When temptations come and you're making money, someone will tell you there is gold in Congo. Here you are successful, you are building a business. Business is like a baby, you are building a business and it has reached somewhere, but you're reaching money. Someone will tell you there is gold in Congo. The gold in Congo, you are going to start from afresh. It's a new baby. It's a new baby you're going to bring up, because it's a business you're going to build. So you take the other money from this business that is doing well, successful, and you put in gold. Totally a new area. Not in the line of your focus, not in the line of your purpose, let's say, for example. And this baby, you are still growing. You've taken up the food that it has been eating on, you put it to another baby, you are going to birth, to start growing. So you're going to take care of 2 babies at the same time. Yes. So they will be malnourished because they're not feeding them well.
Yeah.
So what happens, that happens to so many businesses. When a business is doing well, you get temptations. Someone comes, hey, by the way, there's another business. Can you invest in this? By the way, there's rice. There's money in rice.
Let's go to the
yes, and you are selling timber, for example, but someone tells you there's money in rice. And because you've made some little money, you say, oh, I can go into rice. Rice is totally a new business. You have to run in the whole chain, the value chain. You have to run about suppliers, you have to run about customers, you have to run distribution. So you start a new baby afresh. Yeah. So you kill the other one that is growing, and you start a new baby, and all you find out the babies are malnourished. Yes, so that's also part of the foundation in the book, and there's a whole chapter on that. Yeah.
I wanted to bring in Norman before we got the second part. You know, Machiavelli wrote a book. He called it The Prince, and he explained so many principles of leadership and government and all that. Part of what he says is, if you want to be a prince, if you want to be a ruler of your people, if you want to do politics, make sure you're not devotional to God. Leave that thing to the masses. Let them run those things. But for you, you got to be better than them. So he kind of says it's not compatible. It's not possible for you to do politics and be devoted to a God. Of course, there are so many things that challenges that, and I understand. But so many people have picked that same principle and brought it into business. Yeah. They're like, if you start business, don't be radical. Don't be so much Christian, because if you do, there are some deals you will not do. There are some money that you will not be able to make, and all that and all that. It almost feels like God is against you. He's stopping you from doing things that should be helpful to you. What do you say to that kind of mentality?
Well, I would ask the audience, number one is that who are Christians anyway in business? Who is a Christian? A Christian is a believer. And there is a problem that people say, oh, a Christian is not supposed to be a politician. You just mentioned that. But every citizen has a place. For example, if I say Christians are not supposed to go in politics, but who are those Christians? They are the same people in business, they are same people in politics, and so trying to tell them that they are not supposed to, you are depriving them to share the gospel or to share biblical principles. And I believe you mentioned about business as a mission. There are some areas that are completely, let me say, hostile to Christianity, hostile to any kind of religion. How are you going to share, let me say, not just the gospel, but the values that Brother Mark was saying? How are you going to share the values of stewardship, the values of integrity, if you don't work alongside with them?
That's right.
So to me, I believe light, darkness will ever be, you never dispel darkness when there is no light. So every businessman, a Christian businessman, once you move in a business, God demands you to reflect the biblical principles, the principles of love, the principles, as I think, kindness, stewardship. So the only way you can influence business is by providing those kind of values. The only way a Christian in the areas of politics can influence bad politics is to reflect, how did Jesus Christ, what does the Bible teach about me as a leader? So to me, I begin to see it's a transfer of principles, transfer of godly values into a society that deeply needs something different.
You're right, you're right. I just realized we have less than 15 minutes to come the end, and I still had lots of questions to ask you. I wanted to ask you about registration, the way you brought in registration was super powerful, and you made it. You said it's a foundational thing, and many people actually mistake it. That was in the second part, but I'll jump to the third part and then the last part. Part 3, the enablers. Something you called the forgotten king. Tell us about this king and why he's been forgotten. But maybe if I may read a portion to the page 117. I hope I don't take too much time. Page 117. This is what I felt like it could come back to. So first of all, you called it the forgotten king, and I would like you to tell us who is that forgotten king. But this is one of the things you said. Just as care for customers is crucial, so too is care for employees. We grow business by growing people and customer. This is the most sensitive part of the business. So like the people are the most sensitive part of the business. If you focus on growing these two, your business will automatically grow. Everything else is a byproduct of these two. So who is the forgotten king, and how do you explain the customers and employees into this? Yeah.
Thank you. That's also a good question. That's why I told you, you have to look at the business from your identity point of view or your purpose. The business is a steward. Resources, we are doing businesses as stewards. And if you read the Bible, I think in the book of John, I'm not sure. Book of John. I think the book of John, where God says, use your wealth to create friends. Maybe no man aware.
Jesus.
It's one of the parables.
I think the book of Luke, yes. The book of Luke. Use your wealth to create friends. So that when you lose the wealth, you'll find eternity. Basically what Jesus was saying, everything we are doing is about people. We are stewards. The way you are not stewarding these resources for God. God is God, He gives to us. We are stewarding these resources for other people, for friends, like the Bible puts it. So the customers are people. The people you work with are also people. So, but the business world has tended to focus on a customer because the customer brings in money. Direct, you can see the customer is paying. So we sing about customer. But we've forgotten that there are other people that we work with. That we are supposed to, we account as stewards. Not only the customers, yes, we account as stewards, but also there are people
that we work with,
that also supposed to take care of. And that's why I said they are forgotten kings. Because we are supposed to serve them.
Yeah, you actually said that you sometimes pay your employees more than you agreed in the
Yes. Yeah, I do that. Sometimes they tell me this is the amount and we agree, but when I'm going to pay, I find my heart tells me this is not fair. Yeah, I try to apply the principles that I'm talking about. Yeah, of course, you find a way that you meet the needs of your business.
Because of the time, let me take you to the last part, the last question, and then I'll move on to Norman for the last question. There's something you mentioned towards the conclusion, page 154, the power of communication, and the way you put it, very poetic, very deep, very powerful.
154?
Yeah, page 154.
Okay.
You said, I have attended, if you could start from there.
Yes.
I have attended marriage seminars. Remember, we're talking about business, and this man is bringing in marriage. Anyways, I have attended marriage seminars, and in almost all of them, they have said marriage thrives on communication. Communication in marriage is as important as marriage itself.
Yes.
That's a very big claim. And then you go on to say, without communication, marriages fail. Then think about it this way. If communication is important in a relationship of only two people living together under one roof and seeing each other daily, how much more will it be important in a relationship of so many people not living under one roof but in different locations, with different intentions, life challenges, beliefs, behaviors, and goals. Take a moment and think about it. Help us digest this.
Actually, because that chapter is self-explanatory. It's the shortest chapter in this book. It's a shortest chapter in this book. Because communication in business, like I gave it that analogy with the marriage, because without communication, marriage fails. At least for the sessions I've attended, it's one thing that keeps coming. And I wanted to emphasize communication in business as very, very key for the success of the business. It's one of the later chapters.
Yes.
It's not the foundation, because this time you've grown a business and you have so many people you're working with. So communication is very clear, because you need to communicate a lot of things. You need to communicate the vision, you need to communicate the resourcing. Reporting is part of it. And during my my career in corporates, there was this need for clear communication for the service, clear communication. You find the reports that you are working on, for example, as employees. You work on reports, and the reports go to the finance, and the finance go to take to the board. But what is included in what you've done as employees is not well explained to you. For motivation, for encouragement, and for all that, it's just consumed by a small group of people in the board.
That's right.
But so that's an example of how the communication can get lost in the corporates. And yet, these people you are working with, they are mature people, they are graduates, they are people with masters. It's something that they can motivate them. So, and you are here managing a very big corporate. So how do you communicate? So that's where I brought in that communication is very, 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 very key. If it is as important communication to two people, what about a number of people not living under one roof? Different ambitions, all those things. So you have to have communication as one of the tools that will push your business to a success.
Yeah, thank you so very much. Mr. Norman, before we close, we're almost a few minutes to closing. There's something that I would like to ask you about. I didn't want to go into it before we spoke on communication. The chapter he called The Forgotten King, the need to empower your people, even in Christian organizations. I think sometime recently we were with Pastor Joel. We were talking about they needed to trust your people.
Yeah.
They needed to empower them.
Yeah.
They needed to, what do they call it? Like when you share your part of your responsibilities to someone else. And we realized that actually, so in the other report I was telling you of the survey I did on all organizations that are registered under RGB. Another aspect that we realized was it's only the churches. Not only, but they are the biggest ones that fail to pay for their employees RSSB contribution. They fail to give their employees the basics. And she was challenging us, asking us, how do you do that when you claim to be living to the highest standards of morality? But that's not where I'm taking it. I would like to ask you, what do you think is the need for people to empower those that they work with, instead of treating them as forgotten kings?
One thing is that as a leader, you need to understand that, yes, a leader has a vision, but also, that's my philosophy. And I believe every leader has a vision, but also a vision to materialize, to come to completion, whatever, you need people.
That's right.
And one of the things that is very important is to empower your team, empower them with skills. If you see somebody with a certain skill or wants to develop, empower them.
Yes.
Empower, if it is technology, empower them and all that kind of thing. So I believe every leader has to have a very, let me say, discerning eye to know the gaps in the organization, the gaps in churches, the gaps in the business world. Once you realize the gaps, then you realize that you never do everything. So empower the teams around you. And I believe that's effective, because once you want to bring the best, empower the best to others. So I think it's very important. It's very important that not only business world, but also in the church, but also in the organization. The only way to do it is empower the team around you, and you'll get the best increase in productivity and fruitfulness. Yeah.
Anyways, the one is say we can't cover everything, and I would like just to say thank you. Thank you both for giving us this gift, but also for tonight, for choosing to come and discuss this book with us. Thank you so very much.
It's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to come and explain about my books. But most importantly, I would wish people to look for these books because...
and where can we find them?
You can find them now in the supermarkets, but also on Amazon. In the supermarkets, also in the bookshops, but also on Amazon.com. You can find them. There's something that I wanted to share. In the original, you had said that people don't read, like businessmen don't read and all.
Yes.
And while I was writing the books, I discovered one thing that there is an inspiration that God gives you when you sit down to do something. And writing, when someone is writing, there is an inspiration that God gives, a wisdom that God gives that puts in what the person is writing. So it's important that people read books because there is an inspiration that comes with that concentration and with that writing. So that's what I want.
Even other religious, business,
religious books. Thank you so very much. I'm looking forward to doing your first book. We started with the third, and now this was the second. We'll have the last one sometime soon. Thank you so much also for being here and for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your theological and biblical perspectives. May God bless you. And to the viewers, thank you so very much for being with us. As you might have already noticed, we will be starting at 3:30 through 4:30. That's the new program. And we would like to say thank you. Again, this program is called Encounter, and I'm called Vitali Muvunyi. I was your host tonight, and it's organized by Christ for the Nations Ministries. You can always visit our website and our YouTube channel and find more about the Encounter. Thanks so very much. Have a good evening.